music no one can ever refuse it. Pulsating, vibrating, reggae, reggae, reggae. Very sky, rock, steady, mental, a quadrillion, a cool minute.
Well, this is the Real Stuff podcast, and I'll just say good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. But first, we just want to have a minute of silence for the departed Colonel Marcia Douglas. And we'll just do a minute of, okay? Okay, thank you for joining the Real Stuff podcast. Today, we have a special show. And with us is Akila, Professor Diana Fox, and guest to talk to us about
We have Adam
second
Andrews.
gathering of the Maroon. Adam Andrews. Okay,
Yes.
Thank you. Second gathering of Maroons in Trinidad. First day. So, firstly, Akila, just say a little bit about yourself again, just to remind our viewers and listeners who you are, and we'll take it from there.
And could you also, Akia, just introduce your guests for us?
Yes. Greetings, Alafia, everyone. I am Akila Kalibajaramugi, a proud American Maroon descendant, and also the co-founder of United Maroon Indigenous Peoples. I am here in Trinidad in the hills of Fonzman, and joining on the program, we have Adam Andrews, youth ambassador for our United Maroon Indigenous Peoples, and he's also American descendant. Also, we have Professor Diana Fox, who is one of the academic collaborators who have been working with us for a long time. I met Diana in 2004 in Trinidad at a water conference. And from then to now, we have been working together on different projects, environmental, social, otherwise, and she will be able to share her story. And she's no stranger to the Caribbean. She has worked in Jamaica for a number of times, and also in Trinidad through the University of the West Indies, Gender and Development Studies, and also at Bridgewater State University, where Bridgewater partner with the Fontaman Community Reforestation Project with the Field School Initiative. So that's Sister Diana Fox and our law student, Adam Andrews. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so let's go to the professor, Diana Fox.
Hi, greetings. Is there a particular question you'd like me to respond to or speak broadly to anything?
I know you were introduced, but please talk a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, it's a real pleasure to be here and to be part of this team. I have been working and living on and off in the Caribbean region, as Iakila said, in Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago for many decades. I first went to Jamaica in 1991 when I was a graduate student, and I've taught at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine campus and Mona campus for many years. And I just spent 2 years in Jamaica as the university director of the Institute for Gender and Development Studies. And I'm particularly delighted to have been partnering as a member of the academic team with the United Maroon Indigenous Peoples. Partnerships, global partnerships are so important as we try to realize Indigenous rights, Indigenous ways of life, recognize the contributions of Indigenous peoples to so many of the pressing challenges that we have today. And so I've been working with various Indigenous communities. I worked closely with the late Colonel Marcia Douglas, and I'm very still distressed by, by her unexpected transition. She was an important contributor to reviving and sustaining Maroon ways in Jamaica, and her knowledge, along with the knowledge that many Maroons have of ecological systems, of healing, of spirituality. These are all significant to so many of our challenges in the world today. So it's been my real distinct pleasure to collaborate and to work together with the team on the second Maroon Conference.
Okay, so Andrew.
Hello, greetings. My name
Greetings.
is Andrews. I am a Trinidadian. I started working with this conference and with United Maroons Indigenous People recently. I am currently attached to the Institute for Small Islands. So we do work with Indigenous rights and Indigenous communities. I am also a law student. I have a fair amount of hats, but also a law student, a farmer, musician, storyteller. So, I appreciate the fact that I'm able to combine different things and also see different aspects of heritage through the different pursuits that I have. And, I'm enjoying the aspect of being able to do so on an academic level, outside of just on the practitioner level.
Okay, thank you very much. So back to you, Flavors. Would you like to ask your first question? Flavors?
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm right here. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now, yeah.
Yes. Akia, could you
Yes.
give us a recap of Gathering 1 and what was the outcome as you move into the second gathering, please?
Thank you. Thank you. And again, yesterday we spent a moment offering light and pouring libation for our sister, Colonel Douglas. And it took us, back to where we started with this Maroon journey, having Jamaica and Suriname close to us here in Trinidad. And Marsha Douglas came here and we shared some moments in the forest. And we went to the Jamaican consulate and we had the moment there talking about where we want to see ourselves. And in the wink of an eye, you turn around and hoping that you can call a sister or call a brother, and they are no longer here. So with that, we want to cherish every moment of our lives and every moment of our brothers and sisters who are part of this journey. And, make sure we can document the journey in a way that we can look back and celebrate the footprints of these brothers and sisters who are working tirelessly to make sure that the culture is still alive. For us, planning our first event in Dominica was a big decision to do so, because we were visiting other Caribbean countries, looking at Maroon history, but mainly looking at the Maroon structure of Suriname. So members of American Heritage Foundation, after signing the Memorandum of Understanding with Jamaica and Suriname, we visited Suriname about 3 times. So we had a fair understanding of Suriname's Maroons, the Maroons in Suriname, the different Maroon groups, you know, and like the Quincy and the Samaka and the Okanisi and, you know, the different groups that they have there. And we wanted to know more. And there was this historian who said, Akila, you need to know about the Maroons of Dominica. So Professor Claudia Fergus, he said, you need to know about these Maroons in Dominica. You need to know the history because Dominica was second to Jamaica in Maroon and Marinage. And I'm saying like, so why isn't this story, you know, been told? Why we don't know about this? So we were inspired to go to Dominica. I went on that fact-signing mission and we had this event answering the call of our ancestors. It was powerful. It was, you know, we had Maroons and other African groups from different parts of the Caribbean join in. We had at least 9 Caribbean countries taking part in this event. It was just coming out of COVID, so some of them couldn't travel, but on the ground, we had Sierra Leone, Representative Amadou Masali. We had a sister from Belize, well, you know, Sister Cynthia Ellis. We had those from Martinique and Guadeloupe, and of course Suriname was in the room, and we connected with the people on the ground. We had a chance to go in the forest and get some history. We went to Jacko Flats in the hills there, but they call it Jacko Flats, but you're going up a hill, but reach a flat and you pay homage. And Delis, that's another part, deep in the forest. We had elders there tell us stories of you know, African Maroons freeing themselves and taking charge of their destiny. But also, it was moving when we could have called on some of those ancestors like Bella and Facel and Congore and Cicero and Jacko. These were some of the heroes, Mabuya and Jabba and Zombie and so on. But following that, it was more paying homage to elders there and even elders at home, and trying to connect with the history of Maroon and Marinage throughout the region. And as we know, there would be Marinage anywhere you would have had plantation life. You would have had Maroons running away at some time. All our African people did not just subject themselves to plantation life. So this was one that we really did appreciate, being there, being in that space where we had a chance to hold hands and talk about our way forward, talk about what we hope to achieve, talk about coming out with a mission and a vision out of this gathering, and also a declaration. We also set pillars that we could stand strong on, like Uhuru, where we are united in the cause of freedom. Then Kapale, we gather in the name of our ancestors. Ujima, we work together for the upliftment of all. Gayapa, which we practice here at Fonsoman in Trinidad, working together for a positive cause. Mbungi, where we learn from each other through dance and craft and music and so on. That's where we'll be having an Mbungi at this event here in Trinidad. And also Liberty, where we respect the forces of life and nature. So these are some of the pillars that we set at our first gathering. And today we hold on to those pillars as well to guide us through.
Can I add something? Can I just add something, Akila?
Sure.
Is that all right? I just wanted to add that we opened the gathering on the Kalanago territory with a smoke signal. A smoke ceremony, which brought everyone together and recognized the First People, and also the shared heritage of some First Peoples with African descendants. First Peoples also have their own history of marronage and escaping from enslavement. And just to add to the 6 pillars, one of the things that came out of this from the academic team working with the Maroons and Maroon descendants is a book. And this is one of the responsibilities of the academic team to disseminate what is happening on the ground to other spaces, to build awareness. So we put together a book. Colleagues, Sister Ping An Addo, who's also an anthropologist like myself, co-edited with Garifuna Cynthia Ellis, and 2/3 of the chapters are written by Maroons. So we are trying to decolonize the academic space in this process and bring these stories into wider circulation. So I just wanted to jump in there. But the book is
Thank you.
organized according to the 6 pillars.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you, thank you. And as we was going into the mission, this is where I was going to highlight the indigenous peoples, where our mission states we unite Maroons of the diaspora as a peoples with origin from indigenous peoples and other African groups. And when I say, when you look at the indigenous peoples from across the diaspora, we talk about the Tainos, we talk about the Kalinagos, the Waros, the first peoples, the Santa Rosa people, even the Choctaw Indians, when we talk about our people in Florida, our Maroon community that once existed in Florida. So this is where we pay homage. And as Diana said, it was one of the first activity we had in Dominica, where we did that big smoke ceremony, paying homage to the ones that we met there, and with the hope and promise that we will continue this beautiful relationship. So this is what came out of it, bringing people together, respecting all. We say unity, harmony, and diversity as we move along. But also beautiful things came out of it, where we had our Maroon Declaration. And this declaration was shared not just within the region, but on our several visits to the UN. So I'll stop there for a minute, and I know Adam is waiting to come in the conversation. Thank you.
Adam, seeing that you're a young person too, I wanted to ask, what is the role of the youth in all of this process?
Well, I'll go with younger person, not so much young, but thank you. But yeah, for me, I think that it is important to start to get a certain guidance, right? We have so much information available to us that any one person trying to do research for themselves is sometimes kind of tricky navigating not just sources, but even a direction of study. Then I think that by engaging more youth, what you start to get is people who are interested in this at a younger age. We're able to now help transition, right? Help kind of form a bridge between what traditions existed, and then what traditions we are standing on now, then, as people in the space doing the practice. We don't necessarily want to try to reinvent the wheel or waste energy developing something, and when you're 90% finished, you find out, oh, it had somebody named Franz Fanon who was doing this, or there was somebody in the Caribbean and some other island doing similar work. So I think it's about trying to find ways where we could start engaging younger people and have them now build on what came before, and also try to get their ideas and their takes on things, in that we are at a space now where we have a lot of ideas floating around in the world, and fortunately we could see where there are connections, right? It's not that things happening in bubbles or vacuums. So even in terms of like self-actualization, in terms of processes around decolonization, it's important to know what your heritage is, what your history is, where you came from. That whole saying about needing that to know where you're going then. So, I think that the role of youth in this is a way to continue legacy, a way to input a new wave of energy and new ideas, new inputs. People my age, people younger than myself, have different realities, different concerns that they're going to be faced with and deal with. But it doesn't mean that the foundation of where we come from has to shift or change. I think that this foundation is strong enough to provide a guide and provide the space to find the answers that we seek.
Wonderful.
That's my contribution for now.
Wonderful.
I must say before we
Love that.
continue that this is
So,
not a question and answer situation. So everybody feel free, to come in and speak and whatever. But Akia, can you move us from gathering one to today?
Oh, yes.
And then the discussion can, just flow from there.
Yes, definitely. Gathering 2 is, oh my gosh, an energy we are looking forward to bring to the people, right? And the theme of the gathering is envisioning a connected Maroon diaspora towards achieving a reparative future. And with all the reparation talk around, a lot of people still are not truly connected to this whole conversation about reparation. So we will have, especially the young people and not so young people, explore in depth, about this reparative future, while the elders, we talk about our path, our journey, our spiritual journey, the importance of connecting to self and spirituality, the importance of passing the baton on to the young generation or the younger generation of some of the experiences we have been through and what we have learned from our elders. So I like it when I heard Adam, mention that, yes, you have to learn from the elders. It is so important. Right? It is very, very important. And as we held on to some of the guiding principles that we created at our United Maroon Indigenous Peoples structure, part of our structure, where we look at pillars. We have created pillars, and I think I mentioned this before in one of our previous conversations, where like Uhuru, we are united in the cause of freedom. And this is one of the pillars that, we hold on to and even looking at our name, United Maroon Indigenous Peoples. And what is the true meaning of this? What is the value of uniting, right? And yes, we meet challenges along the way, but it is important to unite. It's important to work together. It is important for us to be there for each other, be pillars for each other. And another pillar that we have created is Ujima, where we work for the upliftment of all. And then you have Mbungi. We gather to learn from each other in different ways through music, dance, song, rituals. And definitely this will be manifested at our event on the 6th of November at the Queen's Hall, where we have our event, Mbungi, our meet and greet, a showcase of talents from our people. Some of them will be participating in the conference and others will be joining us from Trinidad. Some popular artists from Trinidad will be joining us. Then we have Kapale, where we gather in the name of our ancestors. And it is so important, looking back to go forward, getting the blessings from our ancestors and even, being guided. And this is where we embrace rituals, we embrace spirituality, we embrace traditions. And we also have Gayap, one of the pillars that we use a lot here at Fonsuman, where it's working together for a positive cause. And this positive cause is really identifying ourselves, who we are, unearthing the truth, through gathering and learning from each other. So the next generation will at least have the rights to truth. And then we have liberty. We respect the forces of life and nature. And this again embraces a lot of principles around spirituality and traditions and Indigenous life ways. So these are the pillars that will be trying surviving this conference this year, and as the last one that we had in 2022. But again, the journey continues. So there's always something new happening, and part of it is also looking at our declaration, where we will be working on our declaration, amending the declaration, and I know Adam will be sharing some more about the youth declaration that was created as well around climate justice. So I'll stop there and have one of my colleagues join in. Thanks.
Okay, like Professor, would just like to hear from you. Firstly, you talk about the book that was done on that first gathering. Is there going to be a second book for the second gathering?
Well, we're still waiting for this first one to come out. It's under review, but I would like to share, and it's possible that another book will come out, or maybe even some kind of documentary, which may have the opportunity to reach more people. But I wanted to share one of the central themes of that book that is also present in the name of the United Maroon Indigenous Peoples. So Akila talked about the idea of being united, but the idea of indigenous is really important too. And this has been a central point of conversation, not only at the first gathering, but throughout this period of organizing, which stretches back a decade. As Akila mentioned, there have been trips to various UN conferences, the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Peoples twice in New York, once in Geneva, the Permanent Forum on People of African Descent twice as well. And in both of those different venues, Maroons have brought attention to their own indigeneity. In the Caribbean region, the idea of being indigenous is under conversation and discussion. First Peoples are certainly indigenous. At the same time, peoples who are descendant from Africans also carry their indigeneity with them. And our first gathering also included Rastafari, who consider themselves to be protectors of African traditions in the region, and certainly feel up to themselves to be a part of African indigeneity. And so Maroon peoples have sought to be recognized for their indigenous status. And that's important not only for a self-affirmation for this long journey of protecting stories, of songs, of spirituality, of foodways, but also for having their rights acknowledged and realized, because there are there are international and national laws which protect indigenous peoples and help secure land rights and the freedom to practice spirituality, which it historically has often been undermined and even rendered illegal in some of the systems, such as the Obeah laws, and distorted through colonial myth stories rather than histories, And so these corrections, this is what Akila, I think, is referring to when you talk about the truth, Akila, telling what are the true spiritualities, what are the real traditions, rather than those that have been distorted through these colonial narratives. So the book project elevated these ideas. The second gathering will do so also. And it will continue to forge these conversations and connections. Just want to share one story that I think really illustrates the value of bringing people together and the discovery of unity. A few years ago, when I was in Jamaica, the United Maroon Indigenous Peoples, in affiliation with my office there, the Institute for Gender and Development Studies and the Center for Reparations Research at UWI, invited the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous People to come to Jamaica to make a study of the Indigenous peoples of Jamaica, and who are not recognized by the Jamaican government. And many Maroons from the UMIP came on this journey. in one particular community, the Maroon community of Scotts Hall, they were performing a ritual dance. And one of the Maroons from the Saramacca Maroons from Suriname was looking at the dance steps of these Maroons in Scotts Hall and noticed that these complex dance steps had also been preserved in Maroon communities in Suriname. These people have not been connected over time and space for centuries, yet sustained in these dance steps, these practices that are connected to rituals. And this is a beautiful example of the kind of unity that is unearthed and sustained in these kinds of gatherings.
So
Wonderful.
it's part of our commonality, you know, and same way we would go to Suriname or we would go to Belize. I remember talking to the sisters from Brazil who will be coming, members of CONAC group, and we were talking, and because they don't speak English well, they had a translator attached. But then when I went into my shrine and I started praying in Yoruba, they immediately connected. They immediately were shaking their heads. They immediately were feeling, you know, the energy without, without that language, feeling like a language barrier anymore. And so it's in our DNA, it flows, you know. And this coming together is such a spiritual thing. It's more than just, it's not just like, you know, you have a gathering or a show or a conference. It's not an academic conference. It's a gathering. It's a coming together of our people and people to share stories, share their life ways, and look for commonality within the circle, you know. And I am truly, truly looking forward to meet even some of the new members who will be coming on board and opening this landscape of beautiful Trinidad and making it a moment that they will never forget. Yeah.
How diverse you expect your audience to be?
Oh, we have folks of all kind. We have folks coming in from Europe. We have from the US. Well, we have Sierra Leone, IAT, and then we have mixed cultures as well. We have the First Peoples, the Indigenous peoples, that Indigenous group of First Peoples. We have the academic community. We have the Rada people of Dahomey will be participating as well. And as Diana mentioned, the Rastafarians, they're always dear to me because yeah, I'm part of that whole Rastafarian movement, and also our racial community. So we have a diverse, you know, group of people who will be coming in and being part of this journey.
What about the local people?
Oh yes, we have thrown out invites, and the academic community, the University of the West Indies Gender and Development Studies have been working with us and making this conference possible. And the Emancipation Support Committee as well. I'm sure you probably know about Zakia Wadada, who is Chair Executive Director of the Emancipation Support Committee. We have them, their members being part of this journey, and also the UNFPA. We invited Caribbean Development Bank, but still waiting for some confirmation at this point. And we have students coming in the room as well, different colleges and so on. We invite them to come in and be part of this Caribbean studies student, history, geography. Yeah, so it's a diverse bunch that will be participating. Yeah.
What about the various country leadership, as in politicians? What's the support like from them?
I didn't tap into the politicians, you know, I did not. We sent out the invites and was hoping that we'd get a really nice feedback, even for funding. And this has been very, very, very difficult even from our own government here in Trinidad, the funding is so hard to get to the support
Yeah.
coming from the state and others. But we are making it happen. But not we oh yes, we do have one minister who will be in the room. I mean, yes, I salute her. Minister Penelope Beckers, who always she's a champion of the people. And we did invite her to be part of this journey. She was there on our behalf to the first UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, and also her mission office at the UN invited us or hosted us at a side meeting, you know. Yeah, so that was really good. And today she continued to support us. Yeah.
I can feel the energy, you know. I can feel the energy.
It's a bit of excitement bubbling,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
and
yes.
I'm sure Diana is waiting to come in, our sister from Haiti waiting to come in, and Adam is excited about this. You just see it in them, like when I talk to him and others, we're just saying, yeah, it's a countdown. It's a bit, for me, it's a bit of excitement, but a bit of concern too, because I don't have the type of resources that I know I need. So a lot of things are not financially covered yet. So I maybe have to do it in the tradition of praying to Ajay, the goddess of wealth, and doing more offerings and going to the sea and calling on Olokun and holding my calabash on my head and say, let this calabash be filled with money, oh, let everything go well, oh, you know. And I am looking forward to that. And at one point I said, okay, since I don't have the funds to host my Mbungi the way it's supposed to be hosted, it will be a Gaya. Gaya mean working together for a positive cause. Gaya
Yes.
mean lend hand. So all the artists come and lend hand. This one come and lend hand. You go on stage, you sing, you dance, you tell a story, and we will put on a show. And this is what it is about. And I trust on the Creator and my ancestors to give us the strength and to make sure that everything goes well. You know, continue to pray. I call on my gaman, Mama G in Jamaica, and I hope that I'm not sure if she'll be able to come, but I'm looking forward to having her. And, you know, as she do her rituals, I said, gaman, you need to put out some rituals here to make sure our event is successful, because
Yes.
this is for the benefit of all Maroons of the diaspora. Asha.
And I know as a fact that Colonel Douglas was making preparations to attend.
Yes, yes, yes. She did talk about it, but we are still looking for funding
Yes.
as well, you know, to bring in more of our grassroots people, because we can't have this and expect them to dip in their own pockets, you know. And yeah, this is a big challenge for our community. But
Oh yes.
again,
Oh yes.
we are prepared to cross those hurdles. That's why we have scholars like Adam and others in the room who, you know, showing the part that, okay, yes, I am going to be, you know, a professional here. I will have my money so I could at least bring in 2 young persons who cannot afford in the next 3 years or so. So, yeah, that's why we're grooming those young scholars to come on board and talk about sustainable livelihoods.
Yes.
And how we can be in a position always having, whether we do a susu during the year and you save that money for an event coming, or find some kind of way in which we can sustain ourselves in the future.
Is the government or the country of Trinidad and Tobago looking at this event as a tourism event?
No.
Okay.
Because I approached the tourism department and, you know, it was like they don't have money. The budget is now, you know, at that stage where they're now trying to settle down and look for funds and place funds where it needs to go. And they seem not to be 100% top of the list of priorities.
And
So,
this is one of the issues that I think we really do need to discuss. There are going to be some nuts and bolts issues that we take up here. Funding is critical, and through the efforts, Aquila and Zynga and others at Funds Amends, and as part of the UMIP, the United Maroon Indigenous People, UMIP for short, is now a registered NGO in Trinidad. So the fact that it's an NGO means that we can apply for certain funds.
Yes.
And so we really do have to really buckle down and look at those opportunities so that we can be even more inclusive. And we can start to enact some of the projects. I mean, Aquila and Adam have talked about the importance of including and connecting youth with elders. Some of that means that there needs to be some training, some capacity building, some actual implementation of, ancestral gardens and other kinds of projects that continue to the work by manifesting the ideas in real projects. And for this, we need funding.
And I think, Diana, too, as we're touching on that with registered organizations and so on, by rights, governments of the region should have some kind of funds set aside for events like this, for indigenous
yes.
people, grassroots
yes.
people, keepers of tradition, part of tourism, part of heritage tourism, history, because when I called the schools, one teacher said, oh, yes, I am bringing my students. I'm bringing my geography student. I'm bringing my history student. I'm bringing my Caribbean studies students, because they all study, whether it's Maroons, whether it's movements of peoples and traditions and stuff like that. Some things you cannot even get in the history books. So oral tradition is very, very, very important, and it's undervalued most of the times by some of these institutions. So it's not just the right for Trinidad United Maroon Indigenous Peoples to access funding, but it's the same challenge throughout the region.
Oh, it
we are
is,
undervalued,
yes.
we are underappreciated, and very soon you have less and less of us around. Look at the work Colonel Douglas used to do daily with the schools, with visitors,
Oh, yes.
with the community, a keeper of the tradition. And then, all we have to do now is celebrate the beautiful memories. So, before it's too late, the leaders in the Caribbean got to wake up and value us more. Yeah.
I agree 100%. But something must be, you must be able to do something, especially from this gathering, to make them more aware of what is lacking, what they are missing.
Yeah, so hence the reason why I'll let Adam come in here with the declaration. Yeah?
Yes, please.
And the heads of states throughout the Caribbean need to get hold of this. Adam, thank you.
Yeah. So straight to the point. I think that we have a draft declaration right now, right? That comes out of some things that were already laid out in the main UMIP declaration, and some UN principles as well too, some United Nations principles. And the idea here now, it focuses on environmental and climate justice, but the idea is to take it before other groups, some elders, some youth, start to discuss it, start to get some feedback. Let that provide a platform for analysis, because we're talking about important things inside of there, or at least what we think are important areas. And it needs to be opened up for public discussion to see what other people think important areas are then. Because I take the point that it would be good to have more governmental involvement, right? The state, the way things are structured, the state, any kind of support from the state helps these kind of causes and initiatives. However, in the absence of that, it's also good to see what we could develop from the ground up, as opposed to what could be instituted from the top down. And ideally, it should be that these things should work together, right? That there's a grassroots demand and a recognition of a need. And the state, because it is the state, supports this recognition and helps to foster the exchange in the middle. But we're talking about areas like education, sovereignty, environmental justice, valuing our women and our girls. all of these kind of areas are zones that we think that is not just that we see them as being important, but we look at the kind of things that we have to deal with in society now, right? The pressures on younger people. Some people becoming parents at a younger age. They're forced with pressure in terms of how to meet certain economic needs. They might be making the best choices. I think that there's a fair amount of pressure on people now to access finances, capital, money as fast as possible. This kind of quick commerce, consume a pace of life that perhaps is not sustainable in the main. And this declaration, I think, touches on aspects of land, aspects of environmental justice, that kind of to how are we treating with ourselves in this space? Me personally, I think we have a system that is very good at producing things. We get new phones, new cars, new clothes, but our system does not necessarily focus on how we produce good people. And I think that is something that, as a Maroon and Indigenous group, we have a different kind of inherent knowledge of. These traditions, these rituals focus on raising the goodness in people, focus on the importance of the village and raising the child. All of these ideals are about raising good people. And in the absence of that, in this kind of capitalist system, we have much more of a focus on creating good things. So, to get back to the declaration, the principles explored here are meant to start the discussion in these kind of areas and to see what younger people think as well, because everybody, we kind of in this ship at the same time, though we might be on different floors or different decks as the case may be, but we still on the ship.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam, because while you were talking, I was just thinking about young Black men in Trinidad and how they're becoming endangered, an endangered species. Let me put it that way. Young Black men are becoming an endangered species. So how can we create good men, good Black men for our daughters? How can we work on these young men? It is so sad when you look at the crime and so on. And they walk around like looking for something more, right? And that hopeless look you will see sometime around the corners. And I pray that we can reach a level where we can value our young men as well. Find circles where we can just have them sit and just listen to their heartbeat, their own heartbeat, and just sit for a moment and just connect with something bigger than themselves. So this as you was talking, Adam, it just flashed me that young men, young Black men need to be told that they are good, that they are beautiful, that they are needed, that they too are becoming endangered. And these are the conversations that will be coming up. These are the conversations that will be when we offer prayers and pour libation, because we'll have some moment where we'll be tapping into deep spirituality and inviting young persons to come and sit at the feet of elders. We have an elder, I think he's 80, coming in from Suriname. On the Friday, we'll be going to the Ileosa Igwe Tapa Shrine, where a lot of prayers will be offered. And these are some of the things that we add value to. So it's not just a gathering where you sit in like a conference or you just party away. It's a lot of touching of the souls and hearts of participants and sending energies to those who cannot come. Food for the soul, medicine of truth, justice, peace, love is what we'll be putting out there. So we are looking for those who are with us to embrace it, and those who are far, we will send it to them. And yeah, we just giving thanks and looking forward for this moment to come. and strengthen our declaration so we can share it with CARICOM, the UN, heads of states, our own government, the media. Yeah. So
Yeah,
this
we
is the
did
path
write
that
to
we are taking.
CARICOM. We've written to CARICOM,
Yeah.
and we
Hoping
received
that
something very, not a recognition, just a note back that they recognize Indigenous peoples. And this is where I think what Adam was saying is so important, this grassroots pushing. It comes from the grassroots. The people in government and in these regional bodies have to be moved. They embrace various principles, but how do they enact them? How do they implement them? They need to hear the direction, the voices from the grassroots. Amadou has joined us,
Yes.
who works at the grassroots.
yes, thank you.
Welcome, Hamadou.
Hi.
Speak to us,
Do I
please.
need to get on camera?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, that's good. Speak to us, please.
Thank you and welcome.
Hi. How we doing? I got here a little late, but
Yes,
it's an
we were
interesting
waiting.
conversation.
Lovely
We're waiting on
conversation.
the-
Lovely. Yes. So we need your input now.
Yes, the diasporic scavenger. What do you call yourself?
Diaspora scavenger, tell us
Scavenger,
about that.
Oh,
Sure, I
yeah,
can talk
brother.
about that. So basically, what the term diaspora scavenger refers to is that here I am, an African, and I'm going around parts of the diaspora where people from my country, Sierra Leone, were taken to.
Okay.
So of course, we do stuff here in America, the Gullah Geechee people, and I've been to Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, Carriacou, Dominica, all these places where, according to the Slaves Voyages database, it shows me where people from the Sierra Leone region were taken to, and I go and look for them. So I scavenge the diaspora in that sense.
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
And you have been finding them.
Yes. In some parts, we went to Trinidad, we found Sierra Leone Road. And then, yes. And the history supports it too. But as Professor Diana was talking, the grassroots push, that's highly important. And that's where I prefer to work also. So that's how I met Akila, for example. I went to Jamaica, and Mama G, Gaman G, the only maroon female who had been made a Gaman, introduced me to Akila in 2016. Yes. And now Akila has taken me deeper into Maroon affairs. Sierra Leone has direct connections with Maroons from Jamaica, because in 1800, 1800, about 500 Maroons, for Trelawney Town Maroons that were tricked to Canada, ended up in Sierra Leone in
Halifax.
1800. Yes, Halifax, Preston,
when they
a couple other places.
protested too much snow.
Sorry, Shelburne, yeah. So some of those guys ended up in Sierra Leone in 1800. And then also after that, regarding Sierra Leone again, tens of thousands of Africans, mainly from Nigeria, were taken to Sierra Leone as liberated Africans, liberated at sea. And we have all these descendants of Nigerians, Yoruba people, largely, that are in Sierra Leone, as Sierra Leoneans now, because that was in the 1800s. Yes, and of course, I'm sure that these ladies have talked about the Maroon Conference. We had the first one in Dominica a few years ago. It was right around COVID. And this is the second one that's upcoming. And it's being pushed at the grassroots level, as, like I said, Diana was saying earlier, which is pretty important, because we can lend our voices to these initiatives and make them more meaningful to people at the grassroots level. Yeah. Have I said enough?
Yeah, maybe you can talk a little bit about the Temne.
The Tammany?
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
Temne people.
well, the Tammany are one of the largest, ethnic groups in my country, and they've been there for a long time. But their origins are from what you would call Guinea today. So
Okay.
before the transatlantic slave trade, there was a lot of movement in Africa among Africans where there were no boundaries. There was no Sierra Leone, there was no Guinea, there was no Senegal. It was just Upper Guinea coast. And these people move around so much. But the Temenis are one of the largest groups. They've been in my country since the 16th century. But the point I think Akila wants me to make is that we found some descendants of Temini in Kariakou.
Okay.
Yes, they have this big drum dance thing. It's an ensemble of different, I guess, different African ethnic groups being represented. And there are nine different African groups being represented in this dance. Oh no, there are 9 dances, and a few African countries are being represented. And one of them is what they call a Temini woman dance. So apparently, some Temini women were dancing out there. That some song ended up with such a name, Temini woman dance. So they would sing it and dance it still up to today. So when we went there, we saw that. And we also brought the Temini chief from Sierra Leone on that visit, and the Minister of Tourism. Because, like I said, we're diaspora scavengers. We go, we scavenge, and we try to make links back to Africa with these descendants of, our people. And we've been doing Sierra Leone now, but Ghana, Nigeria, Guinea-Bissau, especially Nigeria, lots of spread out in the diaspora. And if we can all work together to make these connections back and forth, going beyond the fanfare, I think we'll put our race, as Black people, in a better position. Because once Africa and the Caribbean connect and start doing things, we can change some narratives.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Exactly.
And to
Yes.
say, Akia, just report
Definitely.
that we still have not been able to get in touch with Kariakou at all. So
Oh, you were trying to get in touch. Remember, we were,
Yeah.
you called me and I said,
Yeah.
okay, Amadou is the person that you have to get in touch with. And now he's on your show. So
Oh,
again,
this is the person?
this is Amadou
Wow.
Masari, who, when I told you about the Temni in Kariakou, and you need Amadou on your show to talk about the Temni people,
Yeah, but we've been
because I have
trying. We've been trying since then.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, this is what United Maroon Indigenous Peoples is about: bringing people together.
Yes.
And the diasporic scavengers are there is to scavenge and go through and find, unearth the truth. As we
Yeah,
bring
and
people
if
together.
if I
here
can
you
say
have
this
Amadou.
now,
Yes.
our new people, could you leave your contact in the chat, please? So that
Yes,
will be
but
Adam, Adua, and Diane, the professor. She has
Yes,
been here
so-
once before, but I think we need to talk to you, Professor. Lots of stuff you could enlighten our listeners, our viewers.
I'm happy to talk to you more. I'd love to.
Well, please leave your contact so we can get in touch with you.
We'll do so. Right
Wonderful.
now on the
Wonderful. Courtney, if you could just record those.
Okay. Yeah.
So everybody is very
I will
upbeat.
just work on it later.
Yeah, well, everybody just upbeat on the conference, as I am.
Looking forward to
What?
having you.
Hello?
Looking forward to having you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we are virtually, like the last time. We were in Dominica with you virtually the last time through
Okay.
Cynthia.
All right.
Mostly.
Okay. Yes.
But no,
So
I
we
don't.
can find a moment.
Yeah, you have to arrange something for us so we can connect
Okay, will do.
and
Will
speak
do.
to some of your people. Because,
Sure.
ladies and gentlemen, this is Indigenous Outlook. This is your platform. It's put there for Indigenous people, especially for the Caribbean. because I think it is time now that we start doing things for ourselves, writing about ourselves, not necessarily reading what everybody else is saying, listening to what everybody is saying. And we are living it, but we're not recording it, we're not writing it, we're not saying anything, we're just there. That has to change. And I hope that we can, we can help that change.
Yes. And writing it and owning it,
Yeah, owning it. Oh, yes. It must be
owning it.
ours.
So
Yes.
it is very, very important that we can own our data. We can own, what is ours. So ever so often, sometimes you part of something and then you realize when you're ready to republish or so, you don't have the rights.
Oh, yeah, right.
So
Oh, yes. Oh,
these
yes.
are things that we have to look into and make sure that we can own our work and our data and so on. Yeah.
That's it.
But as Brother Amadou was saying about connecting to Mother Africa, this is what we want to focus on as well. When we talk about restorative justice, when we talk about restoring what was taken away, when we talk about, understanding some of the treasures that is deep within our DNA, connecting back home to Mama Africa, how can we rebuild those connections? How can we set a path for the next generation, understanding and truly owning up to some of those values and traditions that have been taken away from us. Simple as when we talk about food sovereignty, type of food we eat, the way we process our foods, how much land we can own so we can plant our own foods and trade with our brothers and sisters throughout the Caribbean, build economic strength. These are some of the things we really want to address, and they will be addressed at the conference. Yeah.
Oh, yes, definitely. And, I always say that Caribbean are one people. I mean, there's so many ways to prove it, but we have to live it more now.
Yeah.
We can't wait on outsiders, quote unquote outsiders, to chart the path for us. We have to chart our own path.
Definitely.
Mm.
Yes, so anything
Okay,
more about
so everyone is still here with us?
Hello?
I was just asking, everyone is still here with us?
I'm not
I think
seeing
Professor
Diana now.
Tatooine.
She just dropped out. But Akia, can you just
No,
Okay, Courtney, go ahead.
no, go ahead. No problem.
No, just asking Akia to just wrap up with the conference. Where are you now with your preparations? Will you the usual events thing? Will you be ready? Are you comfortable with where you are now and all of that?
Well, yes, it's a journey, and yeah, so it's only we can make ourselves comfortable with the path that we are paving for ourselves.
Yes.
So while we still have challenges with finance and so on to make us feel a little more comfortable, in the meantime, things are happening. We are getting our panels together, our speakers together, our Mbungi event, we'll be rolling into communities as well. So it's all about connecting with those in communities to be ready to receive us, showcasing some of the traditions and so on that has been maintained over the years. Also, we'll have that an exhibition from Florida. Archaeologists will be coming in from the U.S. Department of Agriculture and also the National Archives here in Trinidad. And our United Maroon Indigenous Peoples member, one of our members, she has a Papanisa museum, and she'll be bringing those pieces together as well to display at the conference. So we are looking forward to having a really beautiful, engaging, spiritual gathering.
Wonderful. And anything you think that we can help with, just tell us. and we will.
Oh yeah,
We will do.
anyone willing to sponsor, send some money to us, we will be happy to receive it. and prior to that, we still have invitations open. Registration is still open. We close off on the 30th. So those who are thinking still about coming and wondering whether it's too late, no, it's not too late. You can still register. Go online, you would see our flyers, and you will get the link to register, or call me, Akila Jaramugi, Akila Jaramugi, 1-868-689-7794, or send us an email, United Maroon Peoples@gmail.com, and we definitely will respond to you and make sure that we can welcome you. Yeah.
Wonderful. So we'll get that out a few more times, every show that we do. So it hopefully reach a wider cross section of people.
Sure. So Adam, is there anything you would like to share from the youth side of the work before we close off?
Yeah.
Just that definitely looking forward to meeting people from everywhere. All right, so like take Diasporic Scavenger, who joined late on, like that was very interesting for me, right? American on my mom's side, but Grenadian on my dad's side.
Grenada.
So
Okay.
like to hear him talk about going to Grenada and seeing these different links to Sierra Leone and things like that just like sparked something to me immediately then, right? So, is the opportunity to start interacting more with people from different spaces, different regions, and sharing, seeing what we have in common, laughing at the things that we don't, but just getting to know people and have the experience. That's probably what I'm looking forward to the most.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Brother Amadou?
Yes, man. Well, I mean, I don't have much more to say, but one of the things that came across my mind when the brother asked about how they can support, I think spreading the word, not everyone is going to be there. Not everyone needs to be there, but people need to know that there's a group of Maroons from whichever Caribbean nations or countries that are doing this. I think the world needs to know that. So using the podcast as one medium where we can propagate that information would be a good thing. And also the young man who just spoke, yeah, that's exactly the kinds of thing that I look for. People like you who want to seek their roots and do so in a meaningful way. And I have tips that I can help steer you, particularly regarding the slave voyages database, where you can see where ships that landed in Grenada, for example, may have departed from in Africa. And then you can see your options, because it's not just Sierra Leone. I mean, Nigeria was big in Grenada also. So we can continue these dialogues and making these connections. But more importantly, we need to put, keep moving. We need to put our efforts, our commitment into these things, because they're not going to happen by chance. And if we don't do it for ourselves, who else will?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Courtney, back over to you now, Courtney.
Okay, just want to thank you, Akila, Amadou, and Adam. Thank you for being here, and the professor in our absence. It was a pleasure having you on the Real Stuff podcast. We truly enjoyed the conversation. I've learned a lot just listening and hearing some historical facts that I didn't even know of. So thank you very much again. And surely after the conference, we have to have this post-conference conversation. Thank you very much. Back to you, Flavors.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. Akia, if you could send us your flyers, and then we will put them out. If you have any video clips, anything like that. That
Okay.
we will work on that from now, even through to the conference and even during the conference.
Thank you. Will do. Will do.
And I
Definitely.
thank you all, and we will be in touch with you. Amadullah, Adam, definitely be in touch with you.
Thanks a lot for having me.
And thank you
Get
very
in
much.
touch.
Double.
You lead us song fulla. You belong far away away. Ajugwala lebobu seru. Leader mua, leader song fulla. Leader mua, leader song fulla.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.
All you gotta do is just speak. One word is enough, and I'm no longer so rough. I forget what I was trying to say. I no longer do what I was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me do what set me a figure flee. Me I fi take away me say. Me I fi take away me say. Me I fi hide like a thief in the night. Me I fi get out the side.